So MIDI Designer Pro layout for LVX. It's very basic at this point. It's basically just duplicating all the controls that are on the device, with the exception of the modifiers, which I'll be adding soon. You have to use sysx to address those, so it's kind of a pain. But even with just this layout, gives you the ability to add, XY pads for, any combination of parameters. You could have a page of just XYs. Technically, you could even have it so when a preset loads, the favorite parameters are loaded into an XY. But anyway, this has just been a lot easier for me to explore the pedal this way. Can change presets, and all the values will update. When you change presets, it reads the sysx from the LVX and updates all the parameters. That was a pain. So yeah, you can go through all the presets, you can slide through them. All the parameters will update. So there's different pages here. Dynamics, got all your different dynamics types here, and it'll bring up their relevant controls. Preamp, volume pedal, tube, transistor, op amp, drive, bit crusher. And we go on here on the LVX and we look at the preamp, all right, bit crusher. This was the hardest part, is that you would think that a delay like this would use like high resolution units for a lot of these parameters. Like, all right, decimation goes from 20 hertz to 48,000 hertz, but it does it in broken up into 128 discrete units. So it's just mapped to like MIDI CC. So I had to go through and get all of the values, which was a pain. But now that we have it, and people can build better things using this. But yeah, as you go through, 47, 622 hertz, 47, 244. It'll always match what's on the pedal, and that's just because I went through and made spreadsheets of all the values, which is a real hassle. I would love to see higher resolution on these knobs. It's one thing on these, but on like the encoders, I want to see like high resolution. It's like almost implied by this kind of knob. Anyway, I'll stop complaining. It'll all be reflected here. Like I said, the only thing that's not reflected is modifiers, but that's coming soon. Meris, if you're listening, please let me know what the sysx command is to address a single parameter individually, read and write. That's the only one I can't figure out. If I can't figure that out, what I'll do is I'll just store the sysx for the patch locally. Any updates you make here will get sent out to the pedal. We'll update that sysx array locally, and then if you tweak the modifiers, I'll add that to the sysx and then send the whole thing, which is not ideal, but it would work. All right, got all your filters, your pitch, right? It's nice, okay? Says all the right things. Great. Some of these are like ribbon strips, You know, you can just jump to wherever you touch. Some are not. You know, parameters that you generally want to be a little more thoughtful about, like feedback. I put a long throw on there, so like you can't just like quickly. Well, there you go. You can apparently quickly go to 100%, but the little flick like that only goes so far. Whereas here, a little flick go a long way. So like mod is a ribbon, crossfeed's not. Time, I'm MIDI synced. It doesn't seem like it reflects either on the pedal or in the MIDI CC, or like it's. I'm also set to global time, so that's probably part of it also. So all my presets use the same BPM. So if I control the the tempo, the MIDI clock with the stomp tap. So just updated the tempo to 134, 135. Okay, it's reflected on the pedal. I have to figure out a way to get that to show up here. You got your divisions. This is like the main page, home. You choose your structure, your type. You can quickly set the type for dynamics, preamp, filter, pitch, and mod. And more importantly, you can tap these labels to go to the relevant page. Pitch, filter, preamp, dynamics, mod. You tap these, you go to the delay page. Delay gives you more of the parameters. So here's poly. This is all the poly parameters. Here's a fun one. You go to multi-tap. Whoa, that's a lot of parameters. Now, these are, just like on the pedal, these are just in percentages. Adjusting time on here will adjust the tap tempo on the pedal. But I think if you're using MIDI clock, it's not going to matter. The MIDI clock will just override it unless you've stopped sending it. Multi-tap, multi-filter, all the menus are synced. So like if I change type here, BBD, here's your filter params. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because 1 through 4 on the left, 5 through 8 are on the right. I think. What else? Reverse series. Great. Yeah, so you tap any of these, takes you to the delay page. Tap any of these, takes you to the relevant page for that stuff. Who's this guy? You did something crazy, want to stop everything, just bypasses the pedal, turns your feedback, it turns everything back to like default values and bypasses. This will also, this is like hitting the stomp, whatever your last preset was, or I guess whatever's on here. Yeah. But the best part about this is for exploring the factory presets, because for my taste, it's just taking a really long time to go through all of them. Not that this took any shorter, but you know, sometimes I like to go the long way. Anyway, so you know, you can go through the factory presets, you can see like everything that they're doing on all of these presets, which they're doing very interesting things, which frankly, like, this is the kind of stuff like you need to learn, I think, to get the most out of this pedal. I think the pedal's great. I think there's some user experience stuff that they could improve. But I know Meris is like 6 people. And I love them. So I'm not complaining, even though I'm complaining, but this thing is definitely it's one of the best digital delay pedals ever made. And it's just so much more than that. My main delay is DD500, which surprisingly can do a lot of things that the LVX can. Doesn't sound as good. It sounds better for some things, like very basic delays in a mix with a band. LVX excels at like pristine delays, stereo soundscapes, things that will really shine on a recording. Although I'm sure you can use this in a mix with a band and it's going to sound great. So yeah, that's the whole thing. That's my point. Oh, there's a looper page. It's not much use to most people, but you can hit the looper FX1, FX2. The good thing about this is, so you don't have to be in looper mode on here, and then you can still access the looper stuff. So that's useful. And these are just for my own use. I trigger the metronome in Quanta Loop. That's my main looper that I use. And then there's a settings page where you can, this is cool actually, you can set the MIDI channel. It will override the MIDI channel for every one of these controls and for the custom StreamBiter script that is reading all of the sysx values to update these pages. So it should be able to work for anybody just by setting your MIDI channel. Your LVX has to be connected MIDI in, MIDI out, and it has to be set to MIDI out in the global settings for this to work. One last observation. So having dry trim and wet trim here, it's like top level settings. I've noticed that these are some of the most important parameters on the entire pedal. I think a lot of people who have the LVX have realized that, but I just want to point that out to anybody who hasn't played around with those much. Anyway, that's that. I will be posting this layout, I don't know, soon, like tomorrow. Thanks for watching.